Hello learners, and welcome to another week at CPDLF. This week we are on week 7 of U.S. History Reconstruction to Present, and this week we're going to be working on assignments in Unit 2. So we'll be doing 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, and 2.6, all under Growth and Innovation. So we're going to talk about why Reconstruction failed, the cause and effect. There's a little project with the 14th Amendment, and a quiz at the end. Okay, so big concepts for the unit, Reconstruction, what happened during Reconstruction, not always good things, and the 14th Amendment. But we're also going to be talking about the 13th, 14th, and actually the 15th Amendment as well, but they focus more on the 14th Amendment. Okay, so here's a video on the Ku Klux Klan. There's some people that know very little about it. I remember when I was in high school, they actually had a rally at the courthouse. Lots of people attended just to see and to witness history. I was not allowed to. My parents didn't think it was safe for me to go, but it would have been interesting just to be a part of history and see what was happening and hear different viewpoints. But my parents thought it would be a little bit too dangerous. But the Ku Klux Klan emerged to suppress and victimize newly freed slaves. And here is a video on the Ku Klux Klan.
Slave owners would build a sophisticated structure to sustain this brutally corrupt and immoral system. Returning Confederate soldiers formed vigilante groups to rob and intimidate freedmen. Some wealthier whites start agricultural and police clubs as part of, they say, a systematic plan with respect to the regulation of our colored population. But no group excels at intimidation like the one based on the old slave patrols that calls itself the Ku Klux Klan.
The Klan is an extension of slave patrols in most direct, obvious ways. It's white men on horseback go out, typically at night, to terrorize African Americans. It is racial oppression continued from one generation to the next. They've changed the names from patrols to Klan. They've put on sheets, but the activities and the purpose remains pretty much the same.
Like the patrols, the Klan rides in small groups of men. Like the patrols, the Klan sets arbitrary curfews for African Americans and forces them to carry passes to bind them and their labor to the plantations. And, like the patrols, the KKK uses violence to enforce its rule.
The implementation of racial control is still primary objective, so that the Ku Klux Klan, often manned by the same people in terms of place in the society, becomes as useful to the landholder as the slave patrols and the militias and the slave catchers had been to the slave holders before the Civil War.
The Klan also forces freedmen back onto the plantations. And like the old patrols, all social classes ride in the KKK. But unlike the slave patrols, the Klan rides outside the law. And now their tactics can be even more brutal.
Once slavery no longer exists as an institution, members of the Klan are free to exercise their most violent fantasies against African Americans and carry it to the logical extreme, which is in some cases murder.
Terror is key, as it has always been. Slavery has died, but a new generation is once again putting together the pieces of repression that will control the South's black population, just as their grandfathers and great-grandfathers have done.
Okay, so hopefully you learned something new about the Ku Klux Klan and what it meant for American history. So as we're moving on, just make sure again that you're completing your Google Classroom. It's very important. You will see mid-marking period progress coming out, and you'll see that it does make a difference in your grade if you're not completing the launches. So please make sure you watch them, you answer the questions, you mark done, and reach out to me if you have any questions. Okay, and just as a reminder, we are working our way through class, and we are on the growth and innovation now as we work down the units. Okay, so if you have any questions, reach out to me, and if not, you have a wonderful week. Thanks. Bye.